Netflix just released a comedy special featuring Matt Rife, and one of the opening jokes he makes is a bit insensitive.
I've only been to Baltimore one time. I ate lunch there, and the hostess who seats you at the restaurant had a black eye. A full black eye. And it wasn't like, what happened? It was pretty obvious what happened. And we couldn't get over the fact that we're like, this is the face of the company? Like, this is who you have greeting people? And my boy who I was with was like, yeah, I feel bad for her, man. I feel like they should put her in the kitchen or something where nobody has to see her face, I was like, yeah, but I feel like if she could cook, she wouldn't have that black eye.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. It is so great to be here. Thank you for coming. Domestic violence. That's my time. I'll be here all week. What? I will not be here all week. I've been asked to leave.
So my lady loves to cook. She just bought a slow cooker. Woo! Better than the old name, Tard Cooker. But put that in my act. But that's the old term. But I mean, this thing's great. You come home and the thing's steaming. You can smell she's got a minestrone going. Oh, there's a beef chili going, and it's so exciting.
Chili, that's the good.
Chili's good.
The only problem is you got in this fast-paced world. I'm like, how long till the chili? She's like, you need another 3 hours. I'm like, God damn! I get the whole black eye thing. That's a Matt Rife joke. Can you believe how much trouble he got in for that?
Not only is the joke in poor taste, but given the fact that his audience is mostly female and his success on social media is mostly thanks to his female audience, there was some backlash.
I watched the first 3 minutes of the Matt Rife comedy special on Netflix and turned it off.
So many people have dark humor mixed up. Dark humor is when you make a funny joke about something unfortunate that you have experienced, not other people's experience.
A comedian ruining his relationship with a large portion of his fan base because he wanted to be like all the other boring-ass Netflix special, you can't tell a joke anymore crowd is actually just depressing.
The things I say on stage, if that upsets people, imagine what I say off stage. That'll be clipped out of context for sure. Can't wait.
Imagine.
Yeah, dude, if you think what I joke about now is offensive, cancel me and let me lose everything. Yeah, let me have nothing to lose. Imagine the jokes I'll tell of it. It's like
almost the best spot to be in.
Rock bottom? Absolutely. Yeah.
And Matt responded to the criticism with a leveled, thought-out, heartfelt statement. Just kidding, he posted this.
If you've ever been offended by a joke I've told, here's a link to my official apology. And the link is to Special Needs Helmet.
Okay, so now you're a comedian and you got canceled for a domestic assault joke. And then in response to that, instead of apologizing like a good boy, you put up a joke ad site about special needs helmets. And now, to get yourself out of trouble, you're going to come on my podcast.
I never
That's
said
your
that.
plan.
I was hoping it would make things way worse. I'm hoping we can drive sales to that very real website about the helmets.
When this blew up around you, why did you decide to take the strategy that you took? Why weren't you racked with guilt and apologetic? And
because it's just comedy. I'm just doing what's funny to me. It's never any deeper than that, nor should it be for anybody. I'm saying things that my imagination drums up, that makes me happy, release endorphins in my head, that makes my life happier. And all I do is share those thoughts with other people in hopes that it makes their life easier. Whether you enjoy what I do or not, you don't even have to know it exists. If I'm your problem, if you and I are face to face and you have a problem with my comedy that I tell, that I admit to the world, right? If you just remove yourself from me, if you do something as simple as just turn around, there is an entire planet behind you for you to go explore and live the rest of your life. You don't ever have to think about me. You don't have to talk about me. I don't like screamo heavy metal music. Guess how often I think about it or talk about it? 0% of the time. You just remove yourself from the situation. I see no harm in trying to make people laugh as a general intention.
you have to be funny, but you can't be too mean, right? You can't hit a fly with a sledgehammer. Your response has to be proportionate.
Yes.
I mean, you up the ante a little bit. That's my presumption. You up the ante a little bit when someone says something smart, but you don't come out with like the long knives and hack someone to bits.
Of course.
Right, because that'll turn them against. Because first of all, you can actually hurt someone publicly by doing that, which is not good if it's not necessary. And second, you could easily turn the audience against you. Well, this is also, again, why I think it's so unfair that comedians in particular face this kind of absurd cancellation pressure, because the line that a good comic is walking on is so damn thin. You have to be playing with disaster in order to be funny, right?
Comedy is purely down to intent. When people are bullying you, like when high schoolers are making fun of something about you, that's a totally different intent. Even though they are making a joke, their intention is that you're gonna feel a certain kind of way. That is what differentiates it from stand-up comedy. Every single thing I say on stage is said with nothing but the intention to make people laugh. And I understand it's not going to make everybody else laugh. Some people heal totally differently when it comes to certain topics. I get that and I accept that. I'm not for you. But
but getting touchy about that, even if you've been hurt, getting touchy about that, first of all, that's a sign that you still have some real work to do. And second, getting touchy about that and then shielding yourself from any exposure to that is not the way to being cured. Quite the contrary, you know, like if it's better if you've had a traumatic experience in your life, not to protect yourself unduly from situations that might bring that back up, but to voluntarily expose yourself to situations where that's likely to be the case. And so it might be understandable in that people have been hurt, but it's counterproductive even with regard to their own recovery.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, partly what comedy does too, it has this psychological function, is that it does provide it's sort of like a horror movie in some ways, you know. It's a weird thing that people will go voluntarily watch a horror movie, because you might ask, like, why would you pay to be scared?
Yeah.
But you're not. You're paying for the experience of the mastery of your fear, right? And you have to, well, and then in comedy, you see the same sort of thing happening, is the comedians are always toying with the forbidden. And the reason for that, in part, the reason the audience participates is because, well, we often have to deal with the forbidden, and often some of the things we forbid aren't things that we should be avoiding or forbidding. When this Tempest in a Teapot emerged, to make arguably even a worse joke, because I think, which I'm very pleased about, by the way. I thought that was actually a masterstroke. Because first of all, did you have any guilt about the domestic violence joke? Which, by the way, I also thought was very funny.
Because it's a completely made up story. Like I went to one diner and a girl had like a little bruise under her eye, and it was like a conversational joke that happened at our table, and I went, this is crazy. Well, how do you describe this humor? Is there a definition or a label for the kind of humor that you just say the worst possible scenario? It's funny because it's ridiculous, because you know it's not true, because you know it's not what you mean, you know it's not the right thing. That is what makes it funny.
See, one of the things that you do when you set up a terrible scenario and then you make a joke about it is, first of all, you signal to the audience that you understand that this was a terrible scenario. And then you signal that even though you know it was a terrible scenario, there's part of you that can rise above it and transcend it, right? And to make light of it. And I don't think there is anything really more admirable in human beings than their ability to make light of a tragedy. And light doesn't mean to minimize its importance. It means to transform something that's truly negative into something that's manageable and comical. One of the things I've seen with people who've undergone very deeply traumatic experiences is that you know that they've recovered from their absolute catastrophe when they can start making a joke about it.
Humor was another of the soul's weapons in the fight for self-preservation. It is well known that humor, more than anything else in the human makeup, can afford an aloofness and an ability to rise above any situation, even if only for a few seconds. Viktor E. Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
I find it wildly important to make light of dark situations. I feel like you have two options to deal with the situation. You can either, when it comes to a certain topic, you can either let it take up a negative space in your mind and energy to where if the word or topic even gets said around you, you get so triggered and uncomfortable, it ruins your day.
And the day of everyone around you.
Yes, or you can find a way to laugh about it, find a way to heal. So that way, next time somebody brings it up, maybe you have something positive to say about your experience or how you've come to deal with it that can then lead to other people healing through the same way. When my grandpa passed away, my friends knew. My friends bombarded me with dead grandfather jokes. They knew that was gonna help me laugh and get through that. And it was the toughest moment of my entire life. And to this day.
That's also a testament in many ways to your character, because your friends knew that even under those dire circumstances that they could still poke and prod at you, and that you might be able to manage the situation with something approximating a sense of humor. And that's why people enjoy the laughter so much, right? Because it is a signal of mastery, often over tragedy and what's forbidden and what's dark.
When you get canceled or somebody is upset about a joke you tell, you're supposed to apologize. People want you to back down and shame you and recognize what you've done wrong. And I don't believe I did anything wrong whatsoever. So it made me really feel like the people who were offended by this were, for lack of better words, and to be quite frank, weak-minded. So I posted a photo of me on stage, thought it was a good photo, with a link at the bottom of it, and the caption was saying, if I've ever offended you with a joke I've told, here's a link to my official apology. And the link description should have been a dead giveaway. It said, click to solve your issue. And when you click on the link, it redirected you to a store,
That's
an
funny.
online
Click
storefront.
to solve your issue. That's funny.
Very specific.
Because it's a little ambiguous.
Of course. And then you click on the link and it redirects you to an online storefront for special needs helmets.
And I thought your response was dead on. Like, one of the things I've noticed is that people who are harassed by sensorial-minded nullwits almost always back down and apologize. And then my sense of that is that a mob comes after them first for whatever hypothetical sin they've committed, and then they apologize, and a second mob comes after them for that.
Exactly.
And then they lessen their own character by the false apology, and they embolden these idiot accusers. And so what to do about that, I have no idea, although apologizing is a bad idea.
Yeah, absolutely not. I'll never apologize for a joke, ever.
Have any of you ever apologized for a joke?
Would you?
We know you haven't.
No, I haven't. I've been asked to repeatedly.
Yeah.
They want an apology. Why aren't you coming on here and defending your joke? Like, why don't you come appear on these New Zealand morning shows and talk? And I'm like, why the hell would I ever want to do that? Like, I would never. It's like asking LeBron James to clean up the victory parade.
Do you think you're as good at comedy as LeBron James is at basketball?
Better. Maybe in a couple years when LeBron's had some time to work out some kinks. Right. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't put myself at that level. Yeah. I know people they want an apology for them. It's like if someone says a mean tweet to you, they just kind of want you to like acknowledge their existence, and then that's the victory. Right. So people keep asking for an apology or explain your joke. Which why? Why ever defend or explain anything?
Trust me, they will just find more shit you've done in your life. Just shut your mouth and hope it goes away. That's what you have to do. And so, yeah, I've been very lucky that I haven't been canceled, but you never know.
The New World Orders, you can't apologize. So you groveling and summoning up this fake apology and getting canned from your job, that's lose-lose. If you're gonna get fired, at least keep your head up. It's like you're putting a saucer of milk out because you're trying to be friends with the feral cat. But all you get is more feral cats. And you go, oh, I feel bad for the cat. I know, but you can't put the saucer of milk out. The apology is the saucer of milk.
We talk about canceling and all that, and it's become like a religion. You know, people live for this shit. But with religion, there's forgiveness. There doesn't seem to be any forgiveness in the canceling.
And even if you apologize, you can't just apologize. You got to apologize like they want you to apologize.
I know. Look at Kevin Hart.
And you got to have that fuck them motherfuckers mentality. You got to say fuck you, fuck you.
Here, here.
You got to have that type of mentality or they going to keep riding on you. And I do sense that when they sense that they think they got somebody that they can ride on, that they can actually influence their behavior, whatever, they just go in. And it trips me out when somebody apologizes and they say, no, you got to apologize to him too. Then you got to
Exactly.
go, we didn't feel that apology. You need to be more sincere.
Yeah, it's all bananas. And it's weird we consider them the good guys. Like, you claim to be compassionate and trying to help people. You're fucking bullies. You're bully. I want another apology. That apology. You didn't mean that apology. I'm like, I didn't mean the joke either, motherfucker. Like, how come you're not mad about that?
And I mean, what's he supposed to do? Apologize for a joke? Like, that is like the number one rule of comedy. You do not apologize for your jokes.
Their own news cycle is what they did, unfortunately. You know, the story was dying out. I made fun of an Asian comedian during an actual stand-up comedy show where recording wasn't allowed. and it was taken out of context, and the comedian tried to get famous off of that. It was Asian Heritage Month, and you weren't allowed to make fun of Asians, and at the time the media was saying that Asians were being attacked by people. This was, COVID, towards the end of COVID. And the storyline from the media is that they were being blamed for this from crazy people. So anyway, I do jokes, as I do. And, when it's Asian Heritage Month and they're under the spotlight in the news, that's when I do go for it. Right now, I'm doing Israel and Palestine jokes that, yes, if a lot of people saw them, they would clip it and put it on the internet and go, can you believe what this guy's saying? But if you're not a comedy fan and you're not in the room specifically and you didn't see what happened before that, of course things can be taken out.
But I always say, okay, go ahead. WME.
But and so when that happened, it was a giant news story, which is absolutely crazy to me. That WME dropped me, and it was their own news story. It was a virtue signaling time in history for a lot of big companies and things. And I don't think it's quite like that. And right now, I've seen the temperature kind of change, but right then it was the extreme virtue signal.
Did you panic?
Oh, it was a horrendous 3 days. It was very bizarre. I could see how it could turn out great, but you still are like, wait, what? It was then that really, I leaned all the way into the freedom of Texas, because it's like, even though it happened here, which is crazy because I was doing crazy jokes in LA for 16 years before moving here, the city embraced me. And like when I went up 4 or 5 days after that incident for the first time ever, the boom was crazier than ever. And I'm like, oh, okay. I just don't think you can get canceled for a joke. And trust me, WME wishes they didn't do that. I've noticed that anyone who gets canceled for a joke, in trouble for a joke, if they're funny, it accelerates their career 100-fold. This happened to Shane Gillis.
Yeah, it was with Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and you look at that mistake. He's an absolute monster, and more importantly, he's one of the best. So if they tried, same thing happened with Ari Shaffir, another great comedian. Who just put out one of the best hour specials.
We had him on
in like a decade.
Jew.
Yep. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
It's so brilliant and so smart.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are thriving, including myself. If it's not right, if it's for a joke, you're only going to help the person. And during the few days, like I said, I was stressed then because I didn't see it so clearly. But meanwhile, those guys are all calling me. Shane's calling me saying, don't apologize. It's going to be all right. Ari's calling me going, whatever you do, don't apologize. Everything's going to be fine. And all these other people are calling me going, are you going to apologize? Are you going to make a video? Are you going to write a statement? Are you going to have your agent write a statement? Are you going to make a video where you explain what happened? Are you going to write a thing where you explain what happened? And I'm taking in all this information from all these different people. And I mean, a lot of them aren't Ari and Shane. And by the way, Ari and Shane really blew up kind of after my thing. They were getting bigger, but their wild success hadn't happened yet. But what they kept saying is what stuck with me, which is say nothing. If you explain what happened, then what the hell are we talking about here? You're explaining a joke. And if you apologize for a joke, which was the farthest, which was the last thing that I wanted to do. And each one of my wildly successful friends that were recommending that, I was listening to them. I was taking in the information. I wasn't saying, no, I'm not going to do that. But I was saying, I was asking questions and trying to figure it out, but it was never an option. I mean, as corny as it sounds, but like apologizing for a joke in my world, I think that would have canceled me. To my base, to the people that watch Kill Tony, that have seen me do a billion worse things on Mondays, and everyone laughs and we move on. 7 seconds later, there's another joke. So what are you offended about something back then? You want to pause and rewind and watch it again,
And also, an apology is, you didn't do any. The context is comedy.
Yeah.
The context is to make people happy, is to laugh.
Yeah.
And we all have different tastes in music and art, in paintings, in if you at the worst case scenario, somebody doesn't get it, doesn't like it, doesn't respond to it. But when you apologize for it, you're amplifying the people who believe it's a mistake, which I don't believe there is in comedy. But the people who believe it's a mistake, you are amplifying their thought. And, yes, it's a mistake. It has to be a mistake because he's apologizing. If he's apologizing, I was right. He did something wrong. Whereas I don't like it. You could be offended by it. You can. That's all okay. And by the same token, even with me on AGT, I understand. I will do. I do things that are wrong, that I have to apologize for, and they make me. But I'm taking the check.
I've always put it this way, and this hit me during the 3 days where the news was talking about me and a racist tirade from a comedian or whatever, however they labeled it during a comedy show, from a roast comedian to a comedian that I knew. Granted, they, tried to betray me and like get famous from an incident. But I always said, if I said what I said to that comedian to an Uber driver and that video came out of me going da 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 da, right? That I would apologize for. That would be me losing my temper and my mind for a second and doing that. So what would I do? The same thing that I did for real life for something that I did at a comedy show? Does this make sense?
Have you talked to...
Shut up! 50 years ago, you had your upside down with a fork up. You can talk your brain now with a rolls outside. He's on.
Oh my God.
What's he was about? Oh, it's a big threat. That's how you get back at the man. That was real called for. Wait a minute, he's not going here, David. You're not funny. That's why you reset. Never had no show, never had no movie. Seinfeld, that's it. Oh, I guess you got me there. You're absolutely right.
Why don't you explain exactly what happened for the folks who may not know?
And I got heckled, and I took it badly and went into a rage and said some pretty nasty things to some Afro-Americans, a lot of trash talk, and
Stop laughing. It's not funny.
I'm very, very sorry to those people in the audience, the blacks, the Hispanics, the whites, everyone that was there that took the brunt of that anger and hate and rage.
First of all, about Cosmo, I'm old enough to follow him from Friday. He's one of these conceptual Andy Kaufman type dudes.
Yeah.
So when I saw the video, I thought at first, he was just doing some old weird, I only understand what I'm doing stuff. You know what I mean? I didn't think he was racist until he apologized.
I was actually... Speaking of women taking risks...
Yeah, I got in a little bit of trouble for that, too.
After the images went viral, Kathy Griffin holding a bloodied likeness of President Donald Trump's head.
He
looks like Hitler in the picture.
Don't I look like Hitler?
Just like Hitler, like you have his face.
Thank you. Check out my fucking Hitler shit. That's Hitler.
These are little gingerbread Jews, aren't they? Yeah.
It's like a Jewish woman, and she's dressed up like Hitler. And, he's in drag, Hitler. And he's baking cookies, and he's really proud of them. But also, he's looking off into the horizon because he has a dream.
Jews went crazy over this, understandably.
Yeah, and I don't see understandably. It really pissed me off because they're like, you're making fun of the people in the ovens. Well, I'm not making fun of the people.
You kind of are, though.
I kind of am not.
I mean, let's be
Why
honest
did you
here.
say
Only
that?
thing would have been worse if you made the cookies skinny.
Wow.
No, that's so not right. Can I finish up?
Yes, please,
Okay.
please.
Also, there's another deeper layer to it. You know, just the everyday. I mean, moving off of this Holocaust, there's been about 50 of them since then. That's what I'm kind of trying to say is like, Jesus Christ, it's so fucking everyday now, Holocaust. It's like baking cookies.
Well,
and
well,
it,
well,
you know, it
oh,
really
shit.
is. It
Yeah.
really is.
That's beautiful.
Hey everybody, it's me, Kathy Griffin. I sincerely apologize. I am just now seeing the reaction of these images. I'm a comic. I crossed the line. I moved the line, then I cross it. I went way too far. The image is too disturbing. I understand how it offends people. It wasn't funny. I get it. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career. I will continue. I asked your forgiveness, taking down the image, gonna ask the photographer to take down the image, and I begged for your forgiveness. I went too far. I made a mistake and I was wrong.
Sometimes people want, a joke that's out there and a little crazy. So regarding the image that I participated in, that apology absolutely stands. I feel horrible. I have performed in war zones. The idea that this, made people think of this tragedy, to have been touched by this tragedy is horrifying and it's horrible. Trust me, if I could redo the whole thing, I would have had a blow-up doll and no ketchup. And
I thought your response was dead on. Like, one of the things I've noticed is that people who are harassed by sensorial-minded nullwits almost always back down and apologize. And then my sense of that is that a mob comes after them first for whatever hypothetical sin they've committed, and then they apologize, and a second mob comes after them for that.
Exactly.
And then they lessen their own character by the false apology, and they embolden these idiot accusers.
I can't believe it's been a year since this. It's a year this month that picture was released. Right. And we already described.
What a year it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I take the apology back.
Okay, we're gonna need to ding that bell if that happens
And
again,
the
Kathy.
sons, Don Jr. and Eric, or as I called them, Eddie Munster and date rape. Look, I'm not holding back on this family.
What's happening?
Oh yeah,
in
I
the
take that
news.
apology back, by the way. I take it back big time. Big time. Yes.
Because this was from a press conference that you held.
I had a press conference with an attorney named Lisa Bloom. You're gonna have to look that up because she actually represented Harvey Weinstein. So I got a lot of bad advice.
One is, you're the only comedian that's actually gotten canceled.
Oh, really canceled?
Yeah, like
Not
I'm
like
saying.
fakey
No,
canceled.
it's not theater. It's
no,
not.
it
I'm
was
doing.
an investigation by two agencies within the Department of Justice where I was interrogated under oath. The Secret Service and the U.S. Attorney's Office was very seriously considering charging me with a conspiracy to assassinate the President of the United States.
Right, by assassination by photo shoot.
Yes. And I actually got a FOIA about this recently. And
Freedom of Information Act.
And it showed how aggressively the Oval Office was pursuing actual criminal charges.
Yes. So whenever someone's talking about I'm canceled, they're canceled, go, all right, let's compare their cancellation to Kathy Griffin's cancellation. Most of the people I know moved up a venue.
A no-fly list.
No, anywhere?
Anywhere.
For how long?
I also was taking it in initially that what if that photo was used in an ISIS video? I was very seriously hearing the things people were saying. Now they've been debunked, but I started thinking I don't want to just blow that off. And so of course I could understand, this comedian who it's not her lane anyway, and now she's gone and done this thing.
Did you think to yourself, I knew I shouldn't have done political comedy?
Stick to prop work. And so of course, are you kidding? I thought, what if, God forbid, an American gets freaking decapitated and somebody says in a video.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy Griffin, for the
Yes,
inspiration.
so my God, there's the other side. There's the other side, and that makes sense.
But that's also.
And stuff is so crazy that someone could have, for all I know.
Did you feel guilt and shame about it?
Yes, of course.
Meaning.
Well,
I mean, I guess I'm as guilty.
uncanceled.
Huh?
I'm not really uncanceled. Like,
what's different?
What's different finally is that I actually have a tour. So
Great.
that's really the tangible thing. But it's not like my phone's ringing, you know? So
There was some stand-up in the documentary, right?
yeah.
Okay, so that wasn't really a tour though.
No, my last tour, that was almost 6 years ago. But my last tour was the best tour I've ever done in my career.
Money wise?
And reviews. I got the best reviews of my career. And I thought, even though the tour was about being canceled and about really primarily about the Trump stuff, I threw in some celebrity stuff, but mostly about the Trump thing. I really
And he
thought.
is technically the host of The Apprentice. So.
Yes, yes.
And he always will be.
One of the many ways I met him, by the way. And, you know, I just thought the phone would ring because the film got so well reviewed. I did a bunch of film festivals. I was doing Q&As with cool people. And I thought, okay, people might have been scared, but now I've put this movie out. It's called Kathy Griffin, A Hell of a Story. I put this movie out a year and a half later or a year, whatever. And I thought I could maybe be able to go back to work, but it was still too soon. It was as if it took America this long to forgive me. That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
So you got cast on SNL.
Yes.
And then what happened?
So I found out I was getting on SNL the day before they announced it. Anyway, they asked me to go straight to cast. So I was like, yeah, I'll definitely do that. Lauren calls, says, hey, we want to use you on the show. We're going to announce it tomorrow. He was like, do you have anything you want us to check out? Like, they have people that vet you.
Right.
But they're not used to people having podcasts.
Right. So they'd have to go through hundreds of
They
hours
go through
of
your
shit.
Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter. I was just like, I'll just delete all that shit. I don't care. Delete it all.
Right.
But I was like, I also have a podcast. And they're like, yeah, what's that? And I was like, I don't know. I say like gay and retard a lot. And they were like, oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it. So I was like, all right, we'll see. And so the day they announced it, it was cool. It was very cool. You hear from everybody you've ever grown up with. They're all like, holy shit. What just like, I can't believe you're on this. And then, so that lasted for about like 3 hours before an article came out that was like, here's what this guy says. There's a clip of me saying some, unsavory stuff.
Yeah.
But
talking shit.
It was like, they always have one or two, like something will come up where they tweeted something a while ago, but it was never a video of them saying a slur. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the whole time I was like, no, I'm not. Like, this is bad. If they're going through my podcast, like, this is bad. So I was kind of like, I'm definitely getting fired the whole time. Yeah, and then that night I'm on the phone with like Lauren and all these people telling me what to do. Like, don't apologize, say all this shit.
What's Lauren telling you?
So NBC is saying, here's the statement you need to say. And it's like a written out, like, what I said was inexcusable. I've learned from my mistakes. Like that, like paragraph, you need to tweet this. And I was like, I'm not going to tweet that. Like that's crazy. But then Lauren was like, I just need you to give me something. So I was like, all right, that's fair. That's reasonable. And so, yeah, I just had like 5 minutes. He was like, I need something in the next 10 minutes. So I just sat there and typed something out.
And tweeted it?
Yeah. That was it.
And that didn't do anything for him?
No, fuck no. I mean, I sent it to him first, and he was like, all right, yeah, we'll try. Post this, see how it goes. And there's no apologizing. Nobody, there's nothing I could have said in that moment where all these people that wanted my job would have been like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you tweet an apology, that's not going to do anything.
No.
They're going to just rip it apart. They're going to be like, he doesn't care.
Right.
Now
it's more fodder to tear apart. Yeah. So then when do you get the actual call that you're not going to be a cast member?
Like 4 days later. Yeah.
And are you just fucking shitting yourself, like dying inside?
I wasn't like, it was just very surreal. It wasn't like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was extremely stressed out. Like I'll see a video or interview of me from back then and I'm like, oh man, I was different. Like I was fucked up. It does fuck you up. Like getting like canceled or whatever, however you want to say it.
But it's more than being canceled. It's this rise, this historic show, this childhood dream, and canceled all in one.
like a week.
Yeah, all in a week. Like there's more.
Yes.
Salute.
Hey.
Bud Light came all the way back.
Cheers.
They
Bud Light,
did.
baby. Water.
They came in that corner. Bud Light came all the way back. UFC, Shane Gillis.
Let's
go.
go.
Let's fucking go.
For the pros now.
I mean, that's a good move. Like that guy that we met, the CEO.
Yeah.
He's got it together.
Yeah.
He gets it. He gets it.
I thought you were the
Good
CEO
dude.
now.
Just in commercials.
I knew you guys were gonna fucking make fun of me.
No, that's not
Come
making
on, man.
fun.
I'm so happy.
I'm fucking
No, it
pumped.
wouldn't have happened without this.
Listen, I'm so
Yeah.
happy. I'm so happy. It just made so much sense. You never let them go. You never bailed on them.
5 years after being brutally fired from Saturday Night Live in one of the wildest series of events ever heard, Shane Gillis will officially be making his long-debated return to SNL as the host of the show later this month.
I went into Lorne Michaels' office, and I was convinced I was getting fired. Because if they didn't get me on that, there's so much more. So much worse.
Do you think the Israeli settlements are illegal? I don't know. Has your stance on apologies and taking responsibility changed after this, or does that still really not matter to you? My stance is kind of the same. I probably presented it pretty hyperbolically in the past. I think I can appreciate an apology, but like 99% of the time, they're just like worthless. Like an apology, if you want to do an apology, okay, here, I'll give you this, okay? If you want to do an apology, this is how an apology has to go, okay? This is how an apology has to go. And if it doesn't go like this, then it means nothing, okay? So it has to be, one is clearly stating the thing you did wrong with absolutely no explanation, okay? This is the first thing, / justification, okay? 2 is, okay, acknowledging exactly why it was wrong and how it negatively affected the other person. 3 is taking responsibility solely for the action without explanation or justification. And then 4 is clearly stating how you are going to avoid this in the future, giving specific examples. Any apology that is not this is a waste of time, and I would rather you just don't even talk to me. Don't say it. I don't want to hear anything you're going to say, okay? Most people cannot apologize well, though, right? For most people, I would say don't even bother. Don't waste your time, because you're probably fucking up. You're probably making it worse. But like, here would be an example, okay? Let's say that I'm in class. I can give you an example. I'm going to show you how to fuck up on every single step. I can show you how to fuck up on every single step, okay? You're in class. You're hanging out with kind of a friend or whatever. You guys are all joking. Your friend is overweight. And you say like, hey, why are you joking about this? You're a fat fuck, Captain Burger King, right? A proper apology would say, when you talk to them later, you say, okay, listen up. When we were in class, okay, I called you a fat fuck. Very explicitly, very clearly, okay? You don't deserve to be called that. I know that this is like something that probably makes you feel horrible, and I'm literally laughing at your expense for something you feel self-conscious about in front of every other person, okay? There was no excuse for why I did that. I didn't need to. I shouldn't have said that. It was just out of bounds. Like, there's no reason for me to make this comment. In the future, I will never make a comment about your weight, or maybe we can even talk beforehand for like, what are things you're comfortably joking about or not, right? That would be a like step on you've hit every point and like, this is a good apology, okay? Here's how these are usually messed up, okay? So we can go through on every part, okay? The first one would be, okay, listen, all right? We were all bantering in class, okay? We were all bantering in class. All of us were saying crazy shit, and I said something crazy too, okay? We were all saying crazy shit, all right? Right? So that's the first one, okay? You're not even clearly saying what you did wrong, okay? You're not even like clearly owning it. Like, well, hold on, what did you say? What was it? Like, you're like already externalizing blame on other people and other situations. Like, no. So you're not even clearly saying, okay? The second part is like, I didn't know that you got upset at these comments, okay? I didn't think you would even get hurt. I didn't think it would bother you. I had no idea. Like, I don't know why you feel this way or whatever, right? So maybe you acknowledge the thing, but you're like, I don't even know why it was wrong, right? I don't know why this even bothered you, right? And then the third thing would be something along the lines of like, we were all joking about shit, and you've made comments in the past. You made fun of my bike because you thought that it was rusty. Okay, so I thought I could make fun of you for being fat. You never said anything like this before, right? So again, you're not taking responsibility. You're justifying why you made the insult. And then at the end, you're like, I'll try to I just won't joke at all with you anymore, I guess. I'm just never going to have like that type of conversation with you again. I'm not going to joke about that because, yeah. And then 4 is like, you're not giving like a clear, like, how are we going to avoid this in the future? You just like, overgeneralize, you're vague or whatever, right? That would be an example of like, that's like an exceptionally bad apology because all 4 parts of that missed. But if you miss any one of these, it can kind of like fuck your whole apology up. But yeah. I would say that like these are the steps to like a good apology. Now, obviously, there are things that you could make exceptions to, but if you don't know how, then you just shouldn't, right? So like for instance, let's say you come into class and you make a joke about like, oh, I want to fuck your mom, and you didn't know that his mom was dead, right? That's something where you legitimately could. You walk the other things like, fuck, dude, I shouldn't be making jokes about your mom. I'm super sorry. I'm sure that you probably felt like shit having me like bring that up as a fucking joke in front of everybody. But this might be on number 3 where you could say like, truly, I'm so sorry. I had no idea your mom's passed away. I could have checked with you beforehand on that. I could have like asked a question, or maybe that was a dumb thing for me to just assume, right? So there are like things where if you genuinely didn't know, you can like kind of put these in here, but you got to be so careful that, because oftentimes what'll happen is when people apologize, they try to make it sound like they didn't actually do anything wrong, and then they make you feel crazy because they're like, yeah, like how could I possibly know this thing? How could I possibly expect it? How could I, right? And then you end up feeling shitty. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody in YouTube chat said,